There comes a moment in everyone's life when, looking at themselves, they realize they are not growing, not evolving, but merely existing, drifting along without creating or improving. Days blur into weeks, months pile into years, and suddenly the crushing weight of wasted time hits hard. Over 2,000 years ago, the Stoics warned of this trap. Seneca said, "You fear like mortals, yet desire like immortals." These words sting because they expose the contradiction in how we live. We tremble before minor obstacles, a tough conversation, a grueling workout, the challenge of learning, yet act as if we have an endless supply of tomorrows to achieve our greatest aspirations. We fixate on petty worries, overlooking the transformative changes that could truly reshape our lives. Time isn't stolen from us. We give it away, minute by minute, choice by choice, until one day we wake up bewildered, wondering where our life went. Seneca, who deeply understood the nature of human procrastination, observed that most people don't truly live, they merely prepare to live, endlessly planning to start, forever on the cusp of action. My friend, it's not laziness that destroys human potential, but delay, that deceptive inner voice whispering, "Later you'll get serious about your health. Tomorrow you'll start building that business. Tomorrow you'll have that tough conversation. Tomorrow you'll invest in your future." But tomorrow is the most dangerous illusion we believe in. It promises everything, yet delivers nothing. This habit of hesitation is why so many leave this world without fulfilling their ambitions. As Oliver Wendell Holmes wrote, their music remains locked inside them, their dreams unrealized, stories unwritten, companies unbuilt, aspirations unfulfilled. The Stoics followed a different code. They championed urgency tied to awareness, deliberate progress over fleeting bursts of effort. They knew the gap between who you are and who you can become is bridged only through consistent, disciplined steps. Marcus Aurelius, one of the most powerful men of his time, wrote in his private reflections, "When the sun rises and you resist getting up, remind yourself, it is my duty to act as a human." He didn't call himself emperor or ruler, but simply human, because he understood our true mission isn't the pursuit of status, wealth, or praise, but the realization of our unique potential, becoming who we are capable of being. Look around. Many have stalled in their spiritual, mental, emotional, and financial growth. They've sunk into comfortable passivity, following routines without purpose, consuming without meaning, mistaking existence for living. They've stopped fighting for their possibilities. But this message isn't for those content with that state. It's for those who still feel a quiet fire within, that relentless whisper insisting, "I was made for more." If that fire still burns in you, it's time to stop negotiating with your potential and start shaping the future you were meant for. I'm not here to offer fleeting motivation that fades in a week. I'm offering a strategic wake-up call, rooted in timeless wisdom that has transformed lives for centuries. Here's the harsh truth. If you keep living passively, banking on endless tomorrows, blaming external circumstances for internal failures, waiting for a perfect moment that never comes, you risk reaching the end of your life with a soul full of what-ifs and regrets. The Stoics taught that this is the heaviest burden a person can carry. Epictetus, once a literal slave who rose to global influence as a teacher, posed a question that should unsettle anyone delaying their greatness. How long will you wait before demanding the best from yourself? Answer honestly, haven't you delayed enough? From this moment, I urge you to act with resolute, not with anxiety, not with chaos, not with desperation, but with the unmatched resolve of someone who knows time is the one resource you can never reclaim. Build your life step by step, choice by choice, day by day.
No one else will do it for you. This is your battle, your path, your creation. I will guide you through 7 profound Stoic principles that won't just shift your mindset, but propel you toward real, lasting change. These aren't empty affirmations or shallow hype. They are time-tested methods for reaching your peak. Listen closely. Apply relentlessly. Your life will never be the same.
The first cornerstone of building a powerful life seems simple, but is profoundly difficult to master. You must silence the inner dialogue that justifies your weakness. You must end the exhausting mental debates that play out daily between who you are now and who you could become. Marcus Aurelius, the philosopher king who led the Roman Empire through wars, plagues, and political turmoil, wrote, "When you don't want to get up in the morning, remind yourself, I rise to fulfill my role as a human." Think about it. The most powerful man of his era, surrounded by luxury and authority, still had to confront an inner voice pleading for rest, ease, or 5 more minutes of avoidance. What made Marcus exceptional wasn't his status, but that every morning he waged war against this whisper of mediocrity. He understood that the defining battles of our lives happen in those moments when our willpower clashes with the lure of comfort. This same mindset is essential if you aim to build something meaningful, because nothing destroys potential like constant bargaining with inner laziness. Reflect on the past few weeks. How many times did you convince yourself not to do what you promised? The alarm rings and you instantly rationalize, "Just a few more minutes. I'll wake up early tomorrow. I'm tired from yesterday." You planned to work out, but persuaded yourself to start next week. You intended to learn something new, but scrolled endlessly instead, pretending it counts as staying informed. Each time you choose comfort over commitment, something subtle but dangerous happens. Your self-respect erodes, and trust in your own word fades. You start seeing yourself as someone with grand intentions but weak follow-through, someone who wants better but can't keep promises even to themselves. Stoicism never equated discipline with self-punishment or rigid harshness. Instead, they saw it as a sacred duty, a deep, quiet honor in knowing you stayed true to yourself when everything urged you to take the easier path. This is the trust you build with yourself by keeping even the smallest promises. Here, true confidence is born. The Stoics also understood that laziness isn't one-dimensional. Physical laziness is the most visible, avoiding movement, shirking effort. But the internal forms are far more insidious. Mental laziness, convincing yourself that thinking about goals equals working on them. Endless planning without action. Emotional laziness, dodging tough conversations, delaying necessary change, staying in draining environments because growth is uncomfortable. And spiritual laziness, failing to evaluate whether your actions align with your deepest values, refusing to become someone you genuinely respect.
Understand this clearly. Laziness isn't just a bad habit. It's a mental pattern that deepens every time you indulge it. The more you feed it, the more automatic and dominant it becomes. But the reverse is also true. Discipline grows stronger with each repetition. Every time you choose effort over ease, decision over delay, discomfort over fleeting pleasure, you reinforce it. The Stoics practiced what they called voluntary hardships, deliberately choosing difficult tasks when easier options were available, rising early when more sleep beckoned, training the body when it ached, exercising the mind when rest was tempting, eating simply when indulgence was possible. Not out of masochism, but to temper themselves for life's inevitable challenges. By overcoming small resistances, they prepared for far greater ones. When you consistently honor your small commitments, you lay the foundation for achieving far bigger ones. You build a deep confidence that you can be relied upon, that you're worthy of responsibility and opportunity. Ask yourself, What is laziness costing you right now? It steals your time, the one resource you can never recover. It robs you of chances, because while you hesitate, someone with less talent but more discipline steps forward. It undermines your confidence, as every broken internal promise chips away at your belief in your ability to follow through. Worst of all, it gradually strips away your future, not all at once, but through daily choices that erode the life you're capable of. Every time you procrastinate, the world doesn't stop. The business you dreamed of is built by someone else. The skill you planned to master is honed by someone more consistent. The relationships you wanted to nurture are cultivated by someone braver. Stoicism teaches that you must take control of yourself before life forces you to. Here's the key. The perfect time to overcome laziness isn't when you feel inspired. Motivation is fleeting and fickle. The right moment to defeat laziness is now, regardless of how you feel. How do you uproot laziness with Stoic discipline? First, expect resistance. Don't be surprised when your mind and body crave comfort. It's normal. Everyone faces it. Even Marcus Aurelius did. The difference between those who succeed and those who stall lies not in the absence of resistance, but in how they respond to it. Second, create routines and systems that don't rely on emotions. Whether you're energized or drained, inspired or indifferent, execute your habits. You don't make decisions based on feelings, you build momentum on autopilot. Third, reduce temptations and obstacles. Don't rely solely on willpower. Design your environment for success. Want to read more? Keep your phone out of the room. Want to eat healthier? Don't bring junk food home. Want to exercise regularly? Lay out your workout clothes the night before. Create a world that supports your commitments. Fourth, reframe discomfort as validation, not punishment. The soreness from exercise is your body evolving. The frustration of learning is your brain rewiring. The tension of a tough conversation is your courage in action. Pain is proof of your growth.
If you're reading this and realize you've been bargaining with your laziness, start by forgiving yourself. The past can't be rewritten, but you can shape what comes next. From this moment, draw a line. The renewed you no longer negotiates with weakness. You rise when the alarm rings, no excuses. You work even when tired, because discipline kicks in when motivation fades. You train even without enthusiasm, because consistency breeds strength. You learn even when it's dull, because knowledge compounds. Slowly but surely, these small acts of loyalty to yourself will spark a revolution. Your mind will sharpen, your body will strengthen, your character will solidify. Your life will improve, not through luck, but through repeated, disciplined effort. The Stoic path isn't soft, but it's the only path to true excellence, inner strength, and deep fulfillment in becoming who you're meant to be. Comfort is a golden cage. Discipline is the key to freedom. The only question that matters now, will you use it? Declare it below. I refuse to negotiate with laziness. Most people fail not because they lack intelligence or talent, but because they lack clarity. They don't know what they truly want or why they wake up each day. Their energy scatters, dissipating across too many directions, chasing things that don't truly matter. This lack of clarity breeds overwhelm, which turns into inaction. The Stoics were brutally honest about humanity's tendency to wander aimlessly. Seneca wrote, "If a man doesn't know what harbor he's sailing to, no wind is favorable." In other words, it doesn't matter how hard you work, how many hours you put in, or how motivated you feel. If you don't know where you're going, you're just circling. Motion isn't progress. Modern life tempts us with distractions at every turn. You can spend years being busy without creating anything meaningful. You can exhaust yourself chasing goals that aren't even yours, dreams inherited from society, family, or culture, not your soul. You can climb the ladder of success only to find it's leaning against the wrong wall.
That's why clarity must become a daily, disciplined practice, not a one-time journal entry or vision board. True clarity isn't born in inspiration, but in confrontation. You must sit alone with yourself and ask hard questions. Who am I becoming? What do I value above all else? Where is my time going? What am I avoiding? What am I tolerating that drains me? What have I outgrown but still cling to out of fear? Stoicism never equated discipline with self-punishment or rigid harshness. Instead, they saw it as a sacred duty, a deep, quiet honor in knowing you stayed true to yourself when everything urged you to take the easier path. This is the trust you build with yourself by keeping even the smallest promises. Here, true confidence is born. The Stoics also understood that laziness isn't one-dimensional. Physical laziness is the most visible, avoiding movement, shirking effort. But the internal forms are far more insidious. Mental laziness, convincing yourself that thinking about goals equals working on them. Endless planning without action. Emotional laziness, dodging tough conversations, delaying necessary change, staying in draining environments because growth is uncomfortable. And spiritual laziness, failing to evaluate whether your actions align with your deepest values, refusing to become someone you genuinely respect.
The Stoics demanded this level of self-examination. Marcus Aurelius reflected deeply every morning and evening, writing in his journal not for inspiration, but for interrogation. He used the page to question his motives, return to what mattered, and discard the rest. The problem is, most people avoid this work. They don't want to look too closely at their lives because they fear what they might find. So they stay in ambiguity, and ambiguous people live ambiguous lives. But those who dare to look clearly, without flinching, gain an immense advantage: power. Because once you have clarity, decisions become easier, distractions lose their grip, your time becomes sacred, you stop entertaining nonsense, and you move with intention. Clarity gives your discipline direction, your energy a home. It prevents you from becoming someone who works tirelessly but goes nowhere, who burns out chasing every shiny object, starting and abandoning countless projects because they never pause to define what success truly means to them. Make it real. Ask yourself right now, what do I want my life to stand for? What do I truly want to achieve? What holds the highest value for me? Where is my time going? What am I avoiding? What drains me but I keep tolerating? What have I outgrown but still hold on to out of fear? These questions demand honesty, and their answers forge the clarity that becomes your strength. The Stoics taught that a well-lived life is guided by wisdom and reflection. Epictetus advised always asking before acting, is this necessary? This question can eliminate 80% of mental and temporal clutter, because most of what we worry about is trivial. Most of what we consume, chase, or fret over is noise. The opposite of clarity is chaos. Waking up without a plan, checking your phone before your thoughts, starting the day reacting instead of directing. Clarity changes that. It puts you in the driver's seat, makes your goals tangible, transforms your energy from scattered to focused, from weary to precise. How do you build ruthless clarity that transforms your life? Start by defining your purpose. Don't just say, I want to be successful. Specify what success looks like in detail, financially, emotionally, physically, spiritually. What does a powerful life look like to you? Describe it vividly, because what the mind can envision, the body can achieve. Then reverse engineer the path. What would someone living that life do every day? What habits would they sustain? What distractions would they avoid? What time would they wake up? Who would they associate with? What would they consume? Now compare that to how you live today. Any gap between that version and your current self is your homework. Next, cut the noise. Delete apps. Say no to events that don't align with your goals and relationships that drain your clarity.
Stop giving your attention to people who don't respect your energy. Simplifying your world amplifies your results. Finally, check in daily. Clarity isn't a one-time event. It's a ritual of maintenance. Every night, ask yourself, did my actions align with my vision? What did I tolerate that I shouldn't have? What small step can I take tomorrow to close the gap? This keeps you calibrated and on target. The world rewards those who know what they want. People follow those with vision, trust those with purpose. The Stoics became timeless not because they were loud, but because they lived with extraordinary intention. Clarity is your competitive edge in a world addicted to distraction. Your ability to focus will set you free. Clarity is freedom. Direction is power. Declare it below if you're ready to live with precision. I live with ruthless clarity. Stoicism never equated discipline with self-punishment or rigid harshness. Instead, they saw it as a sacred duty, a deep, quiet honor in knowing you stayed true to yourself when everything urged you to take the easier path. This is the trust you build with yourself by keeping even the smallest promises. Here, true confidence is born. The Stoics also understood that laziness isn't one-dimensional. Physical laziness is the most visible, avoiding movement, shirking effort. But the internal forms are far more insidious. Mental laziness, convincing yourself that thinking about goals equals working on them. Endless planning without action. Emotional laziness, dodging tough conversations, delaying necessary change, staying in draining environments because growth is uncomfortable. And spiritual laziness, failing to evaluate whether your actions align with your deepest values, refusing to become someone you genuinely respect.
How do you build ruthless clarity that transforms your life? Start by defining your purpose. Don't just say, I want to be successful. Specify what success looks like in detail, financially, emotionally, physically, spiritually. What does a powerful life look like to you? Describe it vividly, because what the mind can envision, the body can achieve. Then reverse engineer the path. What would someone living that life do every day? What habits would they sustain? What distractions would they avoid? What time would they wake up? Who would they associate with? What would they consume? Now compare that to how you live today. Any gap between that version and your current self is your homework. Next, cut the noise. Delete apps. Say no to events that don't align with your goals. End relationships that drain your clarity. Stop giving your attention to people who don't respect your energy. Simplifying your world amplifies your results. Finally, check in daily. Clarity isn't a one-time event. It's a ritual of maintenance. Every night, ask yourself, did my actions align with my vision? What did I tolerate that I shouldn't have? What small step can I take tomorrow to close the gap? This keeps you calibrated and on target. The world rewards those who know what they want. People follow those with vision, trust those with purpose. The Stoics became timeless, not because they were loud, but because they lived with extraordinary intention. Clarity is your competitive edge in a world addicted to distraction. Your ability to focus will set you free. Clarity is freedom. Direction is power. Declare it below if you're ready to live with precision. I live with ruthless clarity. Stoicism never equated discipline with self-punishment or rigid harshness. Instead, they saw it as a sacred duty, a deep, quiet honor in knowing you stayed true to yourself when everything urged you to take the easier path. This is the trust you build with yourself by keeping even the smallest promises. Here, true confidence is born. The Stoics also understood that laziness isn't one-dimensional. Physical laziness is the most visible, avoiding movement, shirking effort, but the internal forms are far more insidious. Mental laziness, convincing yourself that thinking about goals equals working on them. Endless planning without action. Emotional laziness, dodging tough conversations, delaying necessary change, staying in draining environments because growth is uncomfortable.
And spiritual laziness, failing to evaluate whether your actions align with your deepest values, refusing to become someone you genuinely respect.
One of the highest forms of strength is not control over others, but control over your reactions. The ability to pause before responding, to feel emotions without being ruled by them, to create an inner space between what happens and what you choose to do next. That's where emotional freedom begins. In today's world, outrage is the norm. Offense is currency. Everyone is ready to explode, retort, cancel, or judge. But the Stoics knew this is weakness masquerading as righteousness. True strength, they taught, lies in calm, not chaos. Epictetus said, "It's not things that disturb us, but our judgments about them." This should shake you, because it means no one and nothing has the power to make you angry, upset, envious, or ashamed unless you allow it. You surrender your peace to things you could ignore. Your triggers are your teachers. This is what sets a Stoic apart from a reactive person. The average person succumbs to every mood, is swayed by others' opinions, provoked by every slight. They drown in emotional drama over things they can't control. A Stoic observes. They notice the feeling arise, but don't become the feeling. They allow the sensation, but choose the response. Emotional distance isn't coldness or detachment from reality. It's detachment from irrationality. It's clarity in a storm, choosing to respond with virtue instead of ego. In that moment of pause, a world of strength opens up. Break it down. When someone insults you, your first impulse is to fire back, defend, escalate. But what if you pause? What if you realize their insult says more about them than you? What if you stay calm, unshaken? That's power, not because you didn't feel it, but because you didn't let it control you. When plans collapse, the weak break. They yell, panic, blame, complain. The strong adapt, adjust with dignity. They don't deny their feelings, but don't drown in them either. They embrace discomfort and ask, what can I control? What lesson is hidden here?
Stoicism doesn't teach you to suppress emotions, but to detach from them, to insert a sacred gap between stimulus and reaction. That's where self-control lives, where wisdom resides, where peace is born. Not in the absence of challenges, but in the presence of composure. We're conditioned to think quick reactions signal sharpness. They don't. They signal conditioning, autopilot. You've handed your power to external forces. Emotional distance is the reset button, letting you live on your terms, not your impulses. Try this. The next time you feel anger, don't suppress it, but don't act on it either. Acknowledge it silently. Breathe. Ask yourself, what is this emotion trying to teach me? Is it worth my energy? What outcome do I want? This reclaims your choice. When someone disappoints you, don't rush to judge. Did they truly betray you, or did you place expectations on them they never agreed to? Did they fail you, or did you tie your happiness to their behavior? When you feel envy, don't shame yourself, investigate. Does their success threaten you, or does it reveal where you've avoided your own growth? Emotional distance creates space for reflection over reaction, turning emotions into insight. Marcus Aurelius, weighed down by the burdens of an empire, reminded himself, "You have power over your mind, not external events. Realize this, and you will find strength." This isn't just poetry. It's a strategy for staying sane in an unpredictable world. When something goes wrong, pause, breathe, ask, is this in my control? If yes, act. If no, accept. This is the pivot, the mastery. Don't try to bend life to your will. Learn to bend without breaking. This isn't surrender. It's a different kind of action, one rooted in dignity, detachment, and focus on your role, not the outcome. Trusting the process over obsessing about the prize.
Control is heavy, letting go is light. The more you release what isn't yours, the faster and farther you move. Your hands can't build a future if they're full of the past. Start letting go of what pulls you down. The need to be understood, the need for a perfect plan, the need to fix what's broken, the need to know how it all ends. Release the illusion, embrace reality. Life is fluid, growth is nonlinear, peace is a choice. Say it now and let it sink deep. I let go of what isn't mine.
There's a truth that hits hard when you finally embrace it. No one is coming to save you. Not your boss, your parents, your partner, the government, luck, or some magical twist of fate. Your life is your responsibility, and the sooner you fully accept that, the sooner you'll find strength. Most people never do. They live in a state of quiet blame, pointing fingers, rationalizing, crafting clever excuses for why they're stuck, broke, lost, or unfulfilled. They say, I didn't have the right start. The economy is against me. People just don't get me. It sounds reasonable, but it's poison. The Stoics never tolerated such thinking. They believed the ultimate strength is ownership, not of things, but of your role in everything you experience. Epictetus taught that while we can't control what happens, we always control how we respond, and our response shapes our reality. This principle isn't about blame, but about authority, about reclaiming the parts of your life you've outsourced. Every time you blame someone else, you hand them control. Every time you say, I can't because of them, you give them the wheel of your future. That's not strength, it's surrender. Be honest, most of us carry stories that shield us from pain. Stories like, I'd be successful if I had more support. I'd be confident if people believed in me. I'd be fit if I weren't so busy. These stories are soft walls. They protect, but keep you small. Taking ownership means tearing down those narratives and standing in the discomfort of truth. It means looking at every area of your life, finances, relationships, habits, health, time, and asking one simple question. What have I allowed here? What choices have I made or avoided that led to this outcome? This isn't about self-flagellation. It's about self-empowerment. Because once you see that you created this, you can change it. Ownership unlocks possibility, turning you from a victim of circumstances into a creator of direction. Imagine two people facing the same setback. One says, why is this happening to me? The other, what can I learn from this? One waits, the other acts. One complains, the other adapts. The one who takes ownership of the moment will always outgrow the one who resists. That's why Marcus Aurelius, despite being an emperor, never used his status as an excuse. He wrote, you can eliminate many unnecessary troubles. They depend entirely on your judgment. This means your suffering often lies not in the situation, but in how you interpret it.
Where in your life are you waiting for rescue instead of acting? Where are you hoping for help instead of building a response? Where are you silently blaming instead of actively changing? Because here's the truth. No one owes you a great life, but you owe it to yourself to create one. No one has to believe in you, but you must become someone who moves forward without applause. No one is obligated to fix your past, but you can build a future that redeems it. Ownership doesn't mean you won't stumble or fail. It means when you fall, you acknowledge it, correct it, and grow. Practical step. Starting today, remove blame from your vocabulary. Turn every complaint into a question. What can I do about this? Every time you want to point a finger, point it at yourself, not because you're at fault, but because you're capable. Turn disappointment into a lesson, weakness into a training ground. This is the Stoic way, not the easiest, but the one that forges warriors. When you live like this, you stop needing permission, fairness, or shortcuts. You build quietly, daily, relentlessly, until you become the person you once admired. And when people ask how you did it, you'll smile, not because you got lucky, but because you were willing to do the work no one saw. Declare it. I fully own my life. Stoicism never equated discipline with self-punishment or rigid harshness. Instead, they saw it as a sacred duty, a deep, quiet honor in knowing you stayed true to yourself when everything urged you to take the easier path. This is the trust you build with yourself by keeping even the smallest promises. Here, true confidence is born. The Stoics also understood that laziness isn't one-dimensional. Physical laziness is the most visible, avoiding movement, shirking effort. But the internal forms are far more insidious. Mental laziness, convincing yourself that thinking about goals equals working on them, endless planning without action. Emotional laziness, dodging tough conversations, delaying necessary change, staying in draining environments because growth is uncomfortable. And spiritual laziness, failing to evaluate whether your actions align with your deepest values, refusing to become someone you genuinely respect.
There comes a point in your evolution when you no longer feel the need to justify your path to anyone, not because you're arrogant, but because you're focused, not because you're better, but because you're becoming. You stop broadcasting every step, seeking approval for your choices or shrinking yourself to be understood. Most won't understand, and that's okay. Your mission was given to you, not them. Marcus Aurelius reminded himself, if it's not right, don't do it. If it's not true, don't say it. No mention of explanations. The Stoics taught that your life is your statement, your actions your philosophy, your progress your proof. Here's the trap. Many spend more energy explaining what they're doing than actually doing it. They try to convince the world of their seriousness, commitment, or intent, when true conviction needs no validation. It shows in results. If you constantly feel the need to explain, pause and ask, am I justifying my growth to people who want to stay the same? Am I dimming my light to avoid being misunderstood? The truth is you will be misunderstood, especially when you evolve, break patterns, and rise quietly. People often see your growth as a judgment of their stagnation. That's not your burden. You don't owe footnotes for your healing, backstory for your boundaries, or a thesis to start anew. The moment you decided to improve your life, you gave yourself permission. That's enough. This doesn't mean becoming cold or secretive. It means becoming steadfast, able to stand among doubters with your head high, not explaining why you left, changed, dreamed bigger, demanded more, or stopped showing up where you don't belong. The person you're becoming doesn't explain. They embody. Their discipline speaks louder than promises. Their focus drowns out the need for excuses. Their results silence every critic. Practically, have you ever made a decision you knew was right but still felt compelled to soften it for others? Sorry, I just need some time. I didn't mean to pull away. I hope you understand. You weren't wrong, you were evolving. You were trying to protect their comfort at the cost of your clarity. Stop. You're not a defendant in a courtroom. You don't owe proof of your worth, your choices, or your pace. Every second spent defending yourself is energy stolen from your growth. The Stoics didn't flaunt their values. They lived them. They weren't loud. They were grounded. They didn't need permission to live with honor. They gave it to themselves.
The shift. Move silently, act relentlessly. Let your peace be loud, your character clear, your growth your explanation. People will talk, let them. People will assume, let them. People will misunderstand, let them. That's not your business. Your business is showing up, becoming, living by your values, not their expectations. You'll notice that when you stop explaining,
you start expanding, reclaiming mental space, restoring energy, sharpening focus. You stop looking side to side and start moving forward. The need to explain was never about clarity. It was about fear. Fear of being unloved, alone, or judged. But once you face that fear, it dissolves, leaving liberation. You don't owe everyone your access at all times, nor do you owe softening your intensity. You have the right to outgrow, evolve, rise, and to do so without warning. Make this your new standard. I owe no one explanations. I live by my values. Discipline isn't a one-time achievement, something you master once and keep forever. It's a muscle, and like any muscle, it weakens without regular training. Skip the reps, and it fades. Rely on yesterday's strength, and you'll fall short today. So the disciplined person doesn't celebrate once and relax. They wake up and build it again and again. Not because they're obsessed, but because they grasp what the undisciplined never will. Consistency is freedom. Discipline doesn't mean exhausting yourself every second or punishing yourself. It means doing what's necessary, even when it's uncomfortable. It means keeping the promises you make to yourself, especially when no one's watching. The Stoics had no apps, alarms, or habit trackers, but they had inner accountability. They knew the path to a virtuous life is paved with repeated actions, not grand speeches or intense bursts, but small, consistent efforts. Seneca wrote, "We learn by teaching." The same applies to discipline. By practicing it, we strengthen it. By showing up, we grow stronger. Every repetition shapes your identity. Every act of discipline declares, "This is who I am."
But the truth is, no one is disciplined by default. Everyone struggles. Everyone sometimes wants to quit. Everyone hears the voice saying, "You've done enough. It doesn't matter today. Start tomorrow." If you listen to that voice too long, it becomes your truth. The disciplined person hears it too, but chooses differently. They respond with action, not emotion, refuse to bargain with laziness, and don't wait for motivation. They act because they know momentum is created, not given. Discipline isn't about perfection, it's about returning. Every time you lose rhythm, you get back up, raise the standard, and rebuild the pattern. That's how you create something lasting. Practically, discipline begins before action, with preparation. What do you do the night before? How does your morning look? Do you plan your priorities or react to chaos? The disciplined person anticipates distractions, guards their time, and sets their values in advance to resist impulses. They know willpower is finite, but systems are resilient. Discipline isn't built through grand, dramatic changes, but through daily showing up, finishing what you start, doing one more rep, one more minute, one more page when quitting would be easier. Over time, these small victories compound, becoming your standard. You start craving the feeling of completion. You no longer need hype or applause. You trust yourself, and that trust becomes your strength. This separates the committed from the curious. The curious try, showing up when it's convenient. The committed don't ask if they'll act. They don't wait for the perfect moment. They create it through action. Discipline is your daily vote for your future. Every time you choose discomfort over delay, order over chaos, principle over pleasure, you affirm your identity. Don't confuse rest with weakness. Rest is strategic. The disciplined rest to return stronger, but never give up. Never use tiredness as a crutch. They recover and keep going. The beauty of discipline is that you don't need to feel it. Just start. Starting fuels the desire to continue. Movement feeds the mind. Action creates drive. Say it now and believe it. I strengthen my discipline every day.
One of the greatest forms of strength is letting go. Not loudly, not dramatically, but quietly, subtly, intentionally. It's the choice to stop wrestling with what's beyond your power, to stop draining yourself trying to fix what was never yours to fix. Most suffering comes not from reality, but from resistance, from clinging too tightly to outcomes, expectations, or stories about how things should be. The Stoics saw this clearly. Epictetus taught, "Some things are in our control, others are not." Peace begins with knowing the difference. You can't control the weather, traffic, markets, others' opinions, reactions, or betrayals. You can't force someone to grow, undo what's done, or rush what takes time. But you can control your effort, your attitude, your character, your focus, your interpretation, your next step. That's where your power lies, not in the chaos, but in the response. Most people live the opposite way, obsessed with what they can't control, neglecting what they can. They replay conversations in their heads, chase approval, drown in anxiety, cling to deadlines, and confuse control with care. But control is a myth. You want influence, and influence starts with presence. Letting go doesn't mean stopping caring. It means caring where it matters. It's not indifference, it's clarity. Your energy is sacred, and not every fire deserves your fuel. Think about it. How much time have you spent arguing in your mind with someone who isn't there? How many hours have you lost trying to force a perfect outcome that was derailed by something beyond your control? Now imagine reclaiming that energy, redirecting it to what moves the needle. Your habits, mindset, preparation, purpose. That's what Stoicism calls you to. Not to withdraw from life, but to engage with it wisely. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "You have power over your mind, not external events. Realize this, and you will find strength." This isn't just poetry, it's a strategy for staying sane in an unpredictable world. When something goes wrong, pause, breathe, ask, "Is this in my control?" If yes, act. If no, accept. This is mastery, not trying to force life to your will, but learning to bend without breaking. It's not surrender, it's a different kind of action, rooted in dignity, detachment, and focus on your role, not the outcome. Stoicism never equated discipline with self-punishment or rigid harshness. Instead, they saw it as a sacred duty, a deep, quiet honor in knowing you stayed true to yourself when everything urged you to take the easier path. This is the trust you build with yourself by keeping even the smallest promises. Here, true confidence is born. The Stoics also understood that laziness isn't one-dimensional. Physical laziness is the most visible, avoiding movement, shirking effort. But the internal forms are far more insidious. Mental laziness, convincing yourself that thinking about goals equals working on them. Endless planning without action. Emotional laziness, dodging tough conversations, delaying necessary change, staying in draining environments because growth is uncomfortable. And spiritual laziness, failing to evaluate whether your actions align with your deepest values, refusing to become someone you genuinely respect.
Control is heavy. Letting go is light. The more you release what isn't yours, the faster you move. Your hands can't build a future if they're full of the past. Let go of the need to be understood, the need for a perfect plan, the need to fix what's broken, the need to know how it all ends. Life is fluid. Growth is nonlinear. Peace is a choice. Say it now. I let go of what isn't mine. In a world that rewards noise, silence is strength, not weakness, not absence, but control. Silence isn't retreat, it's restraint, the space between stimulus and response, an unshakable presence that says, I see everything,
but I don't have to react. Most people expend energy proving they're strong, talking to be heard, explaining, defending, arguing, thinking loudness equals power. It doesn't. True strength doesn't compete for attention. It quietly holds its ground. Zeno, the founder of Stoicism, said, "We have 2 ears and 1 mouth, so we can listen twice as much as we speak." The Stoics understood that silence isn't passivity, it's strategy. It's the difference between an emotional reaction and a wise response. Recall the last time you stayed silent when you could have snapped back. That wasn't weakness, it was you taking control. Holding your tongue is harder than hurling words, especially when you're right, angry, or eager to prove a point. But silence creates space where truth emerges. People reveal their intentions, patterns become clear, clarity arrives, all because you didn't fill the air with noise. A disciplined mind knows every word costs energy, and not every situation deserves that price. Silence protects your focus, preserves your presence, gives you time to decide if your input is needed. Silence teaches. When you don't speak, you observe, sense, process, sharpen your awareness. This is your edge, because most people are too busy with their own voices to see what's happening around them. Let them talk, underestimate, overreach. You watch, wait, learn, act with precision. This isn't about coldness, but discernment, choosing words like arrows, not just to be heard, but to hit the mark. Sometimes the most powerful arrow is its absence.
Silence also teaches you to embrace misunderstanding. You don't need to refute every rumor, explain every action, or defend your growth to those who choose to misinterpret you. Your silence is your shield, your actions your proof. This is how the Stoics lived, not to win arguments, but to master themselves. Their peace came not from talking, but from knowing when to stay silent. Next time you're tempted to react, ask, does this need my words or my silence? Is this about truth or ego? Is this a battle or a distraction? Choosing silence doesn't mean you're leaving, you're rising above. You're saying, I don't stoop to noise, I rise above it. Make this your mantra. My silence is not absence, it's authority. Comfort is seductive, whispering promises of ease, safety, and pleasure, but it rarely delivers strength, resilience, or readiness for storms that don't care how cozy your life is. Every time you choose comfort over challenge, you trade growth for stagnation, sharpness for softness, potential for peace of mind. Slowly, almost imperceptibly, you become a version of yourself that can't handle hardship because you've trained yourself to avoid it. The Stoics didn't worship comfort. They deliberately sought discomfort. Cold baths, simple meals, extended fasts. Why? Because they knew comfort weakens the will, while hardship sharpens it. Seneca advised, set aside a few days to content yourself with the plainest food, the coarsest clothing, and ask, is this what I feared? This isn't about suffering, but about proof. Proof that you can endure, that your worth doesn't depend on luxury. The truth is, you can't grow in your comfort zone. You must step beyond it, into discomfort, effort, environments that stretch you, humble you, sharpen you. Not because you love pain, but because you've chosen the path of becoming. Growth demands sacrifice, discipline, delayed gratification, early mornings, repetitions, and risk. None of these exist in comfort. Comfort says, stay. Growth says, go. Comfort says, you've done enough. Growth says, there's more in you. Stoicism never equated discipline with self-punishment or rigid harshness. Instead, they saw it as a sacred duty, a deep, quiet honor in knowing you stayed true to yourself when everything urged you to take the easier path. This is the trust you build with yourself by keeping even the smallest promises. Here, true confidence is born. The Stoics also understood that laziness isn't one-dimensional.
Physical laziness is the most visible, avoiding movement, shirking effort, but the internal forms are far more insidious. Mental laziness, convincing yourself that thinking about goals equals working on them. Endless planning without action. Emotional laziness, dodging tough conversations, delaying necessary change, staying in draining environments because growth is uncomfortable. And spiritual laziness, failing to evaluate whether your actions align with your deepest values, refusing to become someone you genuinely respect.
The danger of comfort is its addictiveness. It makes you soft, then convinces you softness is self-love. It dulls your instincts, then assures you they don't matter. It promises peace, but leaves you unprepared for reality. True peace lies in a strong life, one that can withstand pressure, rejection, failure, change, and remain unshaken. That peace comes only through challenge, friction, earned resilience. Don't reject pleasure, but reject dependency. Learn to be okay without what most deem Hannah Arendt, a former slave who rose to influence, asked a question that should haunt anyone delaying their greatness. How long will you wait before demanding the best from yourself? Answer honestly. Haven't you delayed enough? From this moment, I urge you to act with urgency, not with anxiety, chaos, or desperation, but with the unmatched urgency of someone who knows time is the one resource you can never recover. Build your life step by step, choice by choice, day by day. No one else will do it for you. This is your fight, your path, your creation. I will guide you through 7 profound Stoic principles that won't just shift your mindset, but catapult you toward real, lasting change. These aren't empty affirmations or fleeting hype. They are time-tested methods for reaching your peak. Listen closely. Apply relentlessly. Your life will never be the same. You've walked through 10 disciplines, 10 ancient truths reimagined for modern strength. Not flashy, not trendy, but eternal, quiet, unshakable. These aren't life hacks. They're habits. Not quotes for your comfort zone, but cornerstones for a life rooted in principle. If you've made it this far, you don't just want to survive. You're here to live with strength, clarity, intention, and honor. The world will offer you 1,000 escape routes, tempting you to shrink, silence yourself, chase approval, or seek shortcuts. But these 10 truths are your reminder you don't need more noise. You need more self-mastery. You don't need permission. You need purpose. You don't need applause. You need consistency. Each of these principles is a tool, an anchor in the storm, a compass in chaos, a mirror when you forget who you are.
Use them daily, speak them aloud, write them down, weave them into your routines, actions, thoughts. Transformation doesn't happen in a single moment, but in repetition, through small choices made again and again until you become someone you barely recognize in the best way. Let this be your declaration. I am no longer led by emotions, noise, or the world's pace. I move with reason, discipline, principles, and truth. I honor silence, choose discomfort, guard my thoughts. I don't explain who I am. I embody it. And when the world tries to distract, shake, rush, or define you, return to these 10. They're not just rules. They're your advantage, your shield, your code.